What's that?
And that was without even a single drop of rum.
This, my friend, is a pirate. Why don't you just pull up a stool and have a drink with it? It comes in pints? I can get you one. You've had a whole half already!
Good night and party on!
Party on, Wayne!
Party on, Garth.
All right, and microphone is on. Seamless transition once again. I'm slowly getting back to figuring out how to do this thing. Just when you think you got it figured out. Intro videos, outro videos, starting a live stream. Everything works until you hit that go live button. Just like when you put up your graphic that says coming soon and you forget that your camera and microphone are still in the background unmuted. But that's okay. It's all right. It's Wednesday. I've got beer. I don't know about the rest of you, but I hope you are having a good week so far and a good Wednesday so far. I am now off work and enjoying a wonderful after work beer. And yeah, today's show is going to be a little bit of a downer because also I only have like kind of one other little side topic to quickly hit on before we get to the main topic. But it's all kind of a downer. It's all sort of like bummer topics today. But the first one I'm going to pull up, I saw the news literally, I think like as soon as I ended my live stream on Monday. Otherwise we probably would have just like quickly touched on it on Monday and been done with it. But yeah, how's everybody doing so far? I feel like this has been the longest week ever. Monday was Monday as far as work and everything, and then went home, did my regular Monday thing, had a good live stream Monday, have dinner, go to bed, wake up Tuesday, and my alarm goes off Tuesday morning, and I had to sit there and think for a minute, like, what day is it? Because it already felt like it had been such a long week, but it was only Tuesday, and now it's Wednesday. Just feels like the longest week ever for some reason. I don't know what's going on. But strangely enough, hi Roman, by the way, thanks for being here, buddy. I feel like the year is already moving very quickly. Like I have fully accepted my lot in life that I have become that old guy that's like, oh, I can't believe it's already March. I can't believe how quickly the year is going by. But yes, this week feels like it is 7 years. So yeah, fun stuff. So let's go ahead and kick it off with the first bummer topic. On Monday, before we got into our topic about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I quickly brought up that punk legend from the New York Dolls and also his other alias is Buster Poindexter, as well as a pretty well-known actor, David Johansen, had passed away from cancer. I mostly know him from one of my favorite Christmas movies I watch every single year, Scrooged, when he is the cab driver / Ghost of Christmas Past. So we quickly touched on that one on Monday because that news came out over the weekend. But then this one came up. Well, I saw it pretty much as soon as the Monday stream was over. Dolly Parton's husband of nearly 60 years, who inspired the song Jolene, has passed away at 82. And she herself, I'm sure the article will say, I'm not entirely sure how old she is. Okay, I will say one thing. Like, I'm not here to talk trash on Dolly. She's a national treasure who needs to be protected at all costs. But quit pretending like you're playing guitar with those nails. If you're not going to actually play, I know she can. I know in the early days of her career, she played guitar, she sang, she's wonderful. But nowadays, like you're just miming it. There's no way you're playing guitar with those nails. So just stop faking it. Come on, let the band do the thing. Carl Dean, Dolly Parton's devoted husband of nearly 60 years, who avoided the spotlight and inspired her timeless hit Jolene, died on Monday, and he was 82 years old. According to a statement provided by the AP by Her publicist, Dean, died in Nashville, Tennessee. He will be laid to rest in a private ceremony with immediate family attending. She went on to say, Carl and I spent many wonderful years together. Words cannot do justice to the love we shared for over 60 years. Thank you for your prayers and sympathy. Parton met Dean outside the Wishy-Washy Laundromat the day she moved to Nashville at 18. Wow. How about that? Does not say how old she is. I mean, I'd guess probably around the same age, but they married 2 years later. So when she was 20 in 1966, math. I don't feel like trying to do math right now. Let me see. Quick math, because I got my phone here. So plus 20. So she is 78, 79. He passed away at 81. So, yeah, Dean was a businessman, having owned an asphalt paving business in Nashville. His parents, Virginia Jenny Bates Dean and Edgar Ed Henry Dean, had 3 children. Parton referred to his mother as Mama Dean. Dean is survived by Parton and his 2 siblings, Sandra and Donnie. He inspired the iconic classic Jolene. She told NPR in 2008 that she wrote the song about a flirty bank teller who seemed to take an interest in Dean. She got this terrible crush on my husband, she said, and he just loved going to the bank because she paid him so much attention. It was kind of like a running joke between us when I was saying, hell, you're spending a lot of time at the bank. I don't believe we've got that kind of money. So it's really an innocent song all around, but it sounds like a dreadful one. Parton and Dean kept strict privacy around their relationship for decades. Parton telling the Associated Press in 1984, a lot of people say there's no Carl Dean, that he's just somebody I made up to keep other people off me. Yeah, he did very much stay out of the public eye. I do know that they did not have any children together. Miley Cyrus, among a few others, I believe, is one of her goddaughters. So she just has a lot of people in her life that she refers to as her kids, but Dolly herself never had kids. 82, died 82. So yeah, quick math, I just figured out, I think she is somewhere around either 78 or 79 years old. He passed at 82. So yeah, that's definitely sad. But for somebody in the entertainment industry to marry so young and to stay married to one person that long until his passing is that's quite the testament. You do not see that very often, especially in the entertainment world. What's up, Steph? I know, sad news, super sad news. But like I said, that's a testament to their relationship and their marriage. That I mean, most people in like music and Hollywood and stuff can't keep it together for like 2 to 3 years, and even that's generous. All right, so there's just between, I just streamed on Monday, and there's like all this new stuff going on here with StreamYard. I'm really hoping I don't click on any wrong buttons or anything. Oh, there we go. Okay, her birthday is in January, so that's I figured, like, depending on when her birthday was. But okay, 79, 82. Yeah, StreamYard has got some new stuff going on here, so I apologize if anything goes horribly wrong during this stream. Only person in the world I'd get starstruck by, give anything to meet her. Yeah. I'm typically a person who's not like super starstruck by a lot of people. Like I'm the kind of person that like I care less about trying to get a quick photo op or an autograph or anything. It's like if I had the opportunity for any people that I hold in, high regard in terms of artists, musicians, whatever, it's like I would prefer the opportunity to be able to just kind of hang out and have a conversation with somebody versus like a quick photo, quick autograph. But yeah, I would say some of the living legends that have been around, like her, like Willie Nelson, people like that, it's kind of like if you can get 5 seconds of their time, you get it. Yeah, there's some stuff over here on the left, like you can set up different scenes. I don't even know. I'll have to mess with it throughout the week, but we shall see. Hello, A2D2. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. So, yeah. before we like fully really get into like the deep, dark, sad parts of what we're going to talk about today, we can talk about some good stuff. So obviously you saw the thumbnail, you saw the title of the stream. We're talking about P.O.D, specifically, very specifically, their song Youth of the Nation, which has a very direct connection to something that happened at my high school on this day in 2001, which we're going to get to. But I think there's some other interesting stuff that could be quickly mentioned about said band and said song. So, song in question, Youth of the Nation, which has apparently sparked a charitable foundation headed up by P.O.D frontman Sonny Sandoval, called the Youth of the Nation Foundation. So these guys are born and raised right here, San Diego, specifically down in like Chula Vista, South Bay, like right next to the southern border. But these guys, I mean, they are homegrown San Diego natives, and they are damn proud of it. They mention it in a lot of their songs. So Sonny is very involved with like the YMCA and Boys and Girls Clubs and different things like that in his community, specifically in the South Bay. So then now he just recently, I don't know how recently, but started up this foundation called the Youth of the Nation Foundation. And their mission is Sonny Sandoval's Youth of the Nation Foundation provides a safe haven, especially for those in underprivileged neighborhoods and inner city communities where at-risk youth are given the opportunity to find their self-worth and value. Now, if you're like me, there are probably some words in there that might make you want to kind of cringe or roll your eyes a little bit, but hear me out. Like, this is not talking about trying to use government funding or tax dollars, whatever. Like, this is something where they're trying to be active in their community and get interaction from other people in the community, whether through volunteering, whether through donations, whether through whatever. And the real truth is that, like, in these areas, like, underprivileged, at risk, like all of that stuff actually is very true. Like at risk meaning like, you know, at risk to get heavily involved in drugs or to have all sorts of deep dark thoughts of like, I don't want to be here anymore, or just really like, you know, poor neighborhoods. When people talk about stuff like that and they want to use government funding and tax dollars for stuff like that, I kind of roll my eyes a little bit. But when someone's starting up their own nonprofit to help with stuff like that, it's like, okay, like they're trying to actually engage their community to care about their community. Unlock your true potential through the teaching of music, art, and mentoring programs. These young people can unlock their true potential and talents to lead a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life that they deserve. Leave a legacy. It is up to us to break generational curses and leave behind a new legacy for the next youth of the nation. And today is the first day of the rest of our lives. So break generational curses right there. It's like, stop, you know, don't sit here and try to play that you're a victim and, oh, I can't help it because this, that, and the other. It's like, no, every day you have a choice to get up and go out there and work hard and try to make something of yourself. And I like this too, that the picture over here, there's Sonny right there from P.O.D. and he's, you know, they're baptizing students. So yeah, that is kind of a cool thing that has come of just the title of this song. And speaking of Sonny Sandoval of P.O.D, he just recently, I think like a week ago, released a book, his memoir, Son of Southtown, My Life Between Two Worlds. Here's just kind of the brief description from Baker Publishing Group. As frontman of the platinum-selling nu metal band P.O.D, a group too Christian for the world and too secular for the church, he has broken every mold, defied every expectation, and reached into the hearts and minds of hundreds of thousands of people who wanted to belong to something but never felt like they fit in. Born and raised on the streets of Southtown, San Diego, Chula Vista, South Bay, 2 exits from the Mexico border, Sonny has lived his life on the edge between two worlds, a line he has attempted to walk with integrity. Raw and uncut, this memoir tells his true story of growing up in the gritty, beauty south of San Diego, his early musical influences and big breaks, his rise to fame, and many hardships and struggles along the way. From stories of performing in cornfields at Cornerstone Music Festival to rocking MTV's Total Request Live with Carson Daly, to playing in New York City just weeks after 9/11. The unglamorous moments in between, this hard-hitting memoir will have you believing that there's no one right way to follow God's call. Instead, Sonny's story will inspire you to be totally and uniquely you at all times, without apology and without compromise. So there you have that. I feel a sneeze coming on. I'm going to try to mute my microphone in time, but it's probably going to go away because I just said it. Okay. Now I think it's gone. All right. So yeah, check that out. Go grab his book. See, hardcover $28.99, ebook $28.99. There's something wrong there. He's actually just doing an event. I think it was last week on a Tuesday. Down, I'll say 20-ish minutes south of where I live at Three Punk Ales Brewing, where it was him and P.O.D. guitarist Marcos Curiel were going to be doing acoustic sets. There's going to be some DJ sets. He was going to be there talking about the book, signing books, doing photos. They did a special IPA release for the book release and everything. And thought about going down there, but I'm just like, man, by the time I get off work, and then do I want to drive down there? That didn't even start till like 6, be there for however long, then drive back home, probably in traffic, then try to unwind and go to bed. So I was kind of bummed that I missed that, but I did just go see them. Gosh, I guess it was already back in January. They set up a show with a couple of other hometown local bands that never quite rose to the same level of stardom. And they played at the San Diego Harley Davidson dealership down by the bay. And it was basically a free show, but if you came in, it was like a suggested $20 donation. Anything that you donated and gave, they were giving all that money to people who were affected by the Palisades fires up in LA and whatnot. So I did at least get to see that. Just got to see them live recently, but it would have been cool to go to the book event, but Tuesday night and driving down there, I don't know. But let's start kind of digging in here a little bit. So like I said, the show's going to be a little bit of a downer, but it is an important anniversary of something that happened in my life and in my community, and it inspired arguably probably one of P.O.D.'s biggest hits from their big breakout album Satellite, released funny enough on 9/11/2001. There's quite a bit of interesting trivia and history behind this album. It was their second release on a major label with Atlantic. They had done two releases prior on a label that they kind of started themselves, I think, with one of their uncles or somebody. It was called Rescue Records, and they had some success over the years throughout San Diego and just sort of signing other San Diego bands and helping them out a little bit, but never really came of anything. But P.O.D.'s first two albums, Snuff the Punk and Brown, were released on Rescue Records. The Fundamental Elements of Southtown, which is the one that really first kind of started putting them on the map, was their first album to be released on Atlantic Records. Came out August 24th, 1999. It was their first platinum album. It showed singles such as Southtown and Rock the Party. I can still remember, well, first of all, I can still remember being like part of their, fan club or whatever, and getting the email that they were going to record the music video for their first like big single, Southtown, just down in South Bay a little bit. Let's see, 99. So I would have been 13, something like that. So obviously couldn't drive. And I just remember begging my parents to be like, let's go. They're doing they're shooting a music video. We could go be in the music video. And yeah, no. And then I remember the first time hearing Rock the Party on a local like mainstream radio station, and then especially seeing them get onto TRL and be on there with Carson Daly and the whole thing. And this is like a huge thing because again, these guys were born and bred San Diego band. The first time I saw them live was at College Avenue Baptist Church with a bunch of other San Diego bands that do not exist anymore. Basically, because that church, I believe, also has like a school attached to it. So they had just a big, basically a gymnasium, like a big common room, whatever. It was like a gym. They just would plop a stage down in there and do shows. And I remember being probably about 12, 13 years old. My sister, who's 3 years older than me, took me to the show, and some other friends of mine were there. And I think that was like my first like big like local show, and it was the first time seeing P.O.D. like literally right before they were like right on that cusp, right before this album came out, and right before they really hit it big. First mosh pit was like 120 pounds soaking wet, getting thrown around like a rag doll. I think I got a fat lip, but I had the time of my life. All right. Remember one time like running around in the mosh pit with all these other bigger like college guys and like people that are way bigger than me. And at a lot of these shows, especially at churches and like other, like, you know, quote unquote Christian bands, and we'll talk about that a little bit with like P.O.D. being labeled as a Christian band. The general etiquette is like you're running around in the pit stuff. If somebody falls down, like clear everybody out and help them up. You know, don't keep trampling them. And I remember I was running around in there with all these people way bigger than me, and I tripped and fell. Somebody came over and got me under the armpits and lifted me up, but they underestimated how small I was because I was in junior high. And I just remember lifting up above the crowd and then hitting the ground and just like collapsing again to where somebody had to come over and like help me up again. But time of my life, man, it was awesome. It was so good. Honestly, it was probably like 98, 99. And but yeah, so they released the Fundamental Elements of Southtown in 1999 on Atlantic, and then Satellite came out. It was their second release with Atlantic Records, but this is the one that really like songs like Alive, songs like Youth of the Nation, songs like Boom, I think was actually used in a movie somewhere. It might say it on here. This one really catapulted them into a little more international fame. I was trying to find some information on this to confirm it. I want to say, I think when this album was released, it was the most expensive album recorded, produced, and released at that time because technology was rapidly advancing at the time. And these guys were just right at the cusp of like being the hot new thing in the new metal world, or whatever you want to call it. And the studio and the label and everyone was just like throwing money at them, and they're like, just go, give it the best production value you possibly can. And so yeah, I remember they recorded it between March and May of 2001, literally released September 11th, 2001. Which, I mean, who could have seen that coming? But it's like, man, there's no way. And don't hear what I'm not saying. Like, I'm not trying to diminish like what happened on 9/11, but it's like, man, to finally like put all this money into this album, have just all the build up, all the everything, finally put it out, and you wake up that morning and just be like, oh shit, like nothing's gonna stunt your album release more than a massive national tragedy. And again, I don't say that lightly. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh man, this thing messed up their album release, but it's just like, who could have thought, like, who would have predicted? Yeah, it's crazy. But so, and I was trying to find when they talk about the concept of the song Youth of the Nation, writing the song, what inspired it, what got them going with it. I was trying to find interviews of the guys actually talking about it, but every video, every snippet that I found, there's music playing in the background. And you know me, normally I don't really care that much about getting the copyright strikes, but my little channel's struggling enough as it is that like I'm going to try to play by the rules a little bit more here and see if maybe the almighty algorithm is kind. Also, because once we get into the subject matter of what inspired this, I feel like I need to choose my words carefully because there's all sorts of words in the event that happened that inspired the song that are also probably not good things to say on YouTube. So it's going to be an interesting topic. I'm going to have to tiptoe around some stuff, but I think you guys that are watching are picking up what I'm putting down. and you know what I'm talking about. So yeah. Speaking of picking up what I'm putting down, if you are still watching and you're liking what you're seeing, make sure to hit that like button. It really does help the channel. Every little bit of engagement. So, the reason why I'm not sharing my screen here is because I am getting a lot of my information from Wikipedia right now, and nobody wants to look at Wikipedia, and they don't do. Oh wait, oh they do dark mode. Oh, dark mode. I just learned something. All right. I'm trying to set my browser to just make everything dark mode, and it just depends on the website. But all right, Wikipedia has a dark mode. Anyways, you guys don't want to stare at Wikipedia articles, so you get to just look at me while I ramble off on stuff. So, well, we could just take it back to the beginning, and when you get to the end, stop. So, March 5th, 2001. All right. P.O.D. being the local San Diego band that they are, and even though they were writing and rehearsing for this major label record, they were in a small practice studio just probably a mile or two, maybe 3 miles down the road from Santana High School as of March 5th, 2001. It was like any other regular Monday. It was slightly cool and cloudy, and students were on their way to class. Now, I'm not going to narrate that whole thing, but yes, I remember going to school that morning, and the way our block system worked with upperclassmen, underclassmen, everything. When I was at Santana, you had 3 classes a day, and you either started at 7 something, had first, second, third block, and you were out of there by like 1 o'clock or so. They're really odd times. It was like 7:13, and then your last class gets out at 1:05, whatever. I forget the exact numbers, but typically juniors and seniors, you'd get first block classes. So you'd go first, second, third, you'd be out of class, you'd be out of school, done for the day by like 1:05 in the afternoon. The underclassmen, freshmen and sophomores, typically started second block, which started around 9 something, 9:15, 9:20, I don't know. And then we got out a little bit after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 90-minute classes. You got a fresh batch of classes in January. So if you got a crappy teacher, you weren't stuck with them all year. That was kind of nice. So I was a freshman, and I was going in, starting my second block class, which started around 9, whatever. 9, we'll just say 9:20, just for argument's sake. Showed up to school, went up, said hi to all my friends, whatever. Okay, bell rings, on my way to class. And this is the moment where I thought about it after the fact. Might have even realized it that same day, maybe the next day. I don't know. But honestly, I know some of you are probably going to give me a hard time for this. Honestly, I was a pretty good kid in school. I was the kind of the weird, slightly goth kid that just would sit in the back of class. I just wanted to do my schoolwork, hand it in, get my grade, graduate, and move on with my life. The only extracurricular thing I did was yearbook, because I was a yearbook photographer, which is just another excuse to get to go in and take pictures, go into the dark room and print and develop photos the old school way by hand, which I thought was really fascinating. Other than that, I was like, no sports, no clubs, no extracurriculars, no ASB, no dances, no nothing. I'm just like, get me out of here. But I did have a math teacher my freshman year that when our classes switched in January, long boring story later, I just I was having a hard time in her class. I feel like she was moving a lot faster than the teacher I had the first half of my year, and I was just like, you know what, like I'm struggling here. My other teacher that I had basic algebra with the first semester was great. Like, can I just go back to his class and do like my algebra 2 or whatever and just continue on and this and that and the other? Well, I may or may not have mouthed off in class one day, just a little bit. So she like kicks me out of the class, tells me to just basically go sit outside the door for however long. And I'm sitting out there, and she finally comes out almost like she's trying to get an apology out of me. And I was just kind of like, no, like I've been trying to switch out of your class and the counselors won't let me. And so she let me. That class change changed my schedule from where, because they had to move some of my classes around in order to be able to move me to a different math class. So had that switch not happened, when that bell rang, and I don't even want him to be the focus, so I don't even want to talk about the perpetrator of said event at my high school. So this isn't about him, and it's not about giving him the attention, but what happened and where he started coming out and firing at students. I would have been walking right through the area where he came out of the bathroom and started doing what he did. My schedule switched me to where now my first class of the day, my math class, was up at the front of the school, basically facing the main road out there. And I was pretty much already on my way out to the street as I heard what was happening. And then, so my parents have always said that they wanted to like write a thank you letter to that one math teacher for being such a crappy math teacher that I wanted to switch out of her class, and they had to like flip my schedule, because now instead of walking directly through harm's way, I was literally walking away from it as it was happening. And then the whole rest of the day is a blur. I find out later that evening that a childhood friend of mine that we came up in the same homeschool program together. We lived in the same neighborhood. We rode our bikes through the neighborhood together. Was one of the two boys who lost his life that day. It was freshman Brian Zucker, who was my friend, and senior Randy Gordon, who I did not know, but I knew other people who knew him. So those are the events that happened. Just back in September, went through being able to watch a parole hearing of said shooter. I probably shouldn't have said that word. YouTube probably doesn't like that word, but whatever. Here we are. Trying to petition for an early parole. So I had to sit there for 8 hours and hear all these people recount their stories of being victims, whether physically, mentally, whatever. And then for the parole board to deny him, but then to say, oh, you can try again in 3 years. So they're going to put everybody through this again in another 3 years, possibly as soon as 18 months. He was essentially given 25 years for each life that he took. So they said, okay, 50 years to life, chance of parole at 50. Now he's trying to get out early, less than 25 years in. And during that parole hearing, somebody made the point of his sentence was 25 years for each life he took. They said, if you let him out early, you have to decide which one of those boys' lives didn't matter. And that was like, oh man, get him, tell him. They're trying to decide, oh, is he still a threat to society? I'm like, I don't care if he's still a threat to society. He could be a Buddhist monk that like wouldn't even kill a fly at this point in his life. He did a crime, a punishment was handed down, and now he's been rabidly trying to get out early. And people are trying to say, oh, he's rehabilitated, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. It's like, no. Look, if I go out and go flying down the freeway at like 120 miles an hour and I get a speeding ticket, I don't get to pay like a quarter of the fee on that speeding ticket. And then like the police department in the city is going to be like, we're square. Like, no, I have to pay the full fee of that speeding ticket. Might even have to do like the traffic court class thing, whatever, if I don't want it on my driving record. Like, you don't get to serve less than half of your sentence for taking 2 lives and then be like, oh, we're cool. Like, no, that's not how that works. I don't care if he never hurts another soul his entire life. There's a punishment. And yeah. So anyways, back to the song Youth of the Nation. So I said I was trying to kind of find interviews and articles and things of that nature of the band themselves actually talking about this rather than just my words, because there have been conflicting stories about what exactly inspired it, how it came about. I mean, they were the band P.O.D was just down the road in a practice studio, writing, recording, getting ready for their album Satellite. And the initial story that I'd held on to for a long time was that they were at a taco shop just kind of across the street, catty corner. Hey, there he is, our friend to the north, Salmon Outdoors. How you doing, Devin? Oh, so must have a real job. Well, you know what, buddy? I probably start earlier than you too, though, because I don't have to go into customers' houses and install air conditioners and furnaces. But thanks for being here. And yes, it's exactly what we're talking about. And I'm trying to be careful about the words that I use because YouTube, the algorithm already doesn't like me. But yeah, here we are. So I had always kind of heard the story that the band was in like a taco shop, sort of across the street, catty corner, and that they were there like getting breakfast burritos, and then they're going to head to the studio, and they saw the commotion. Once I started reading more into this, actually as far back as September, because again the parole hearing and stuff was fresh in my brain, and I was looking stuff up. It was the more accurate account was that some of them say that they were on their way to the studio and there's traffic. They're seeing emergency vehicles flying down the road, helicopters flying overhead, everything. And they get to the studio and somebody in no, I think you're an hour ahead of me. So anyways, no, the taco shop that's by the Domino's. That other like catty corner, like over there. So they get to the studio and somebody's got the TV on and they see the news and all of a sudden they're like, oh man, like this thing's happening at the high school, like right down the road. Some of the other guys have said that like they walked to a 7-Eleven. One guy was saying that they was going to get coffee. Either way, it was like they were in the area nearby, seeing all the emergency vehicles flying around, and they get back to the studio where they are writing and rehearsing for their new album, and they see what's on the news, and they were kind of jamming. Guitarist Marcos Curiel already sort of had a riff worked out. Sonny started writing lyrics and stuff, and I should have had this already pulled up. I knew I was going to forget something. And so they started writing the song Youth of the Nation. And overall, I mean, like, the song itself is not about Santana, but they said it was very much inspired by the events of Santana, being that they were like right there as it was happening. Obviously, Columbine had just happened just a couple years prior. And each verse kind of has a different story of like people kind of going through their different issues and whatnot. But the first verse of Youth of the Nation goes like, last day of the rest of my life, I wish I'd known because I didn't kiss my mama goodbye. I didn't tell her that I loved her, how much I cared, or thank my pops for all the talks and the wisdom he shared. Unaware, I just did what I always do. Every day the same routine before I skate off to school, but who knew that this day wasn't like the rest? Instead of taking a test, I took 2 to the chest. Call me blind, but I didn't see it coming. Everybody was running, but I couldn't hear nothing except gun blasts. It happened so fast. I don't really know this kid, though I used to buy him in class, which I did have PE with the shooter. And we'll talk about that in a minute because I have strong feelings about that. Maybe this kid was reaching out for love, or maybe for a moment he forgot who he was. Maybe this kid just wanted to be hugged, whatever it was. I know it's because we're the youth of the nation. Second verse goes on to talk about a girl, having like low self-worth and not respecting herself because of her broken relationship with her father. Last verse goes on to talk about a boy dealing with depression and thoughts of, we'll just say thoughts of not wanting to be alive anymore. We'll go with that word because it's maybe a little more YouTube friendly. So it kind of deals with a couple of different pretty major dark topics, but Santana is what really inspired it. And that first verse has always got me too, where the line where it says, I didn't really know this kid, but I sat by him in class. I had PE with the perpetrator, with the guilty party of why this event happened. And I think at that point I was, 15 years old. Yeah, because I was always like a bit older than people in my class because my birthday's at the end of the year. My parents had to put me in either put me in early or late. And I went in late, so I was always older than the rest of people in my class. But at 15 years old, I want to say this was sort of the beginning of me really, really hating the news and mainstream media, and maybe a lot of other things on top of that. Because let me tell you, when something happens like this at your high school, cameras are everywhere. News reporters are everywhere. They want to get that shot of the crying students, the grieving parents, the people just trying to have a moment to themselves. Man, they are vultures. The news, just in general, media in general, is disgusting when it comes to stuff like this. And I think I actually remember at one point, a lot of students, we learned that if the news was there reporting live, if you started flipping them off and cussing at them, they had to turn the cameras off. So maybe not my proudest moment in the world. Actually, maybe that is kind of a proud moment, because it's sort of a vulgar gesture, but if it gets the news to leave you alone and get the camera out of your face, you know, it works. So I was a freshman when this happened. When I graduated high school, they had to take a lot of basically they had to take a lot of measures to keep the media out and not allow any sort of like news or anything in there, because they knew that it's like my class was the last class finally graduating and getting out of there that was physically on campus when this happened. Obviously, there were siblings and people that had very much been affected by this coming in and through the school system. But as far as people that were on campus, my class was the last one. So my graduation had mucho security. That was fun. No, they don't care. No, they just want to get their shot. They just want to get their story. The news is disgusting. They love that kind of thing. Yep. Yeah. We like people seriously, like students started like making their own like protest signs being like, media go home, news go home. They're like, get out of here. Like, let us deal with this, you know? But so I had PE with said person of said guilt. The news painted him as a victim. The news was constantly, oh, he was bullied, he was picked on. He was like, yeah, well, guess what? Who the hell wasn't? I mean, really, let's talk high school. Like, if you went to a public high school, who wasn't teased? Who wasn't picked on? Who wasn't bullied? And his story has changed a lot over the years, from the severity of the bullying. Then he tried to claim that it was like the boyfriend of the mom of one of his friends was like inappropriately touching him and stuff, but then like he would still choose to go over and stay the night at that friend's house. It's like, well, if this was such a terrible situation and this guy was doing bad stuff to you, why would you continue to willingly put yourself in that situation? Like, it doesn't add up, right? So anyways, all that to say, me having a class with this kid, he was a friggin' terror. He was such a I really am trying to work on not cussing so much anymore, but it's tough sometimes. I remember in our PE class, he had this like teeny tiny little squirt gun that he would like tuck in his sock, that he would basically pee in it, and then he'd pull the little squirt gun out and he would squirt people with his piss, like during class and stuff. And it's like, I'm not necessarily saying that people deserve to get beat up and bullied and everything, but it's like he was not an innocent. He was not innocent in this. If anyone was beating up on him at school, he brought it on himself. The other thing of that is there's a lot of information around the fact that there's a skate park just up the road from the school that he would also routinely go to. And there'd be like older kids there that were like out of high school, no longer attending Santana, that would beat him up and bully him and take a skateboard and whatever. It's like, okay, well, so you're getting beat up by people at the skate park that don't even go to our school, and yet you came and took your anger out on people at school. Hey, Adams Land, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, media loves controversy and drama because it sells. It's sad, but people have a morbid curiosity to look at incidents. It's like when a car crash happens and their tailbacks, because everyone wants to. Oh, 100%. Yeah, the looky-loo traffic, the rubbernecks. You know, yeah. I can't tell you how many times living in Southern California, I'm driving down the freeway and there's a bunch of traffic, and then all it is somebody just getting pulled over, getting a ticket. But all I see the flashing red and blues, and somebody's pulled over, and everyone's got to slow down to 10 miles an hour to see what's going on. Yeah, everybody's curious. Everybody wants to see. Yeah, but yeah, so he complained about being bullied, complained about being picked on. It was these kids at the skate park. It was people he considered his friends that he still chose to hang out with. And what was the other one? Oh, he had a teacher. He was in like a drama class, theater, whatever. And it's like one particular story where he talks about, you know, the teacher just berated him in front of class because he came in unprepared for some exercise or something they were supposed to do in class that day. And he's like, I wish someone would just come in and do something about that, whatever. Which again, when he did bring the weapon to school, he did not go after or target that teacher. He did not go after or target any of his friends or people that had actually been beating up on him and bullying him. In fact, he actually told the people who he called friends, but were the friends that beat him up and bullied him, actually told them not to come to school. He initially planned to have at least 2 additional people helping him. And when he did what he did, he just opened up on completely innocent people. My friend, Brian, the first one to lose his life that day, was in the bathroom washing his hands, and he came up behind him right to the back of the head. In an interview many years later, asked if he knew Brian. Like, oh, did you know Brian? Did you know who he was? He said, yeah, I had a class with Brian. He was always really nice to me. I almost broke my TV because I wanted to start throwing things at my TV when I heard him say those words. I was like, you literally said, yes, I knew who this person was, and he was always nice to me. He was not a random person who just caught a bullet. You put it right to the back of his head, knowing full well who he was. But then he came out of the bathroom and just opened fire randomly on random students. And so no, I'm like, this guy should not get out of prison early. His sentence was 50 years to life. They want to let him out at 50 years, fine. He's not going to know how to do anything with himself at that point. Life would be better, whatever. But him trying to get out, less than 25 years served. I'm like, get out of here. You knew exactly what you. He's like, oh, well, I chose a smaller caliber gun. I didn't really want to hurt anybody. It's like, you knew exactly what you were doing. You were supposed to have extra people help you, who, thank God, backed out, because his thing was like, oh, well, if I start here, when people run this way, you'll be here. When they run that way, you'll be there. They backed out. And it's like, no, you wanted to hurt people. You planned to hurt as many people as possible, innocent people who did not bully you, did not beat you up, did not berate you in front of the class. And I'm not saying he should have gone after the teacher either. Like, he shouldn't have done any of the things that he did, but he didn't try to go after the teacher. So it's like, your stories aren't matching up. And I hope you stay in prison for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's that. Let's see if I can find some more stuff about P.O.D, though, talking about kind of the song. Because honestly, this is one of those songs where today marks 24 years since this happened. 24 years, which I'm still blown away by the fact that it's been that long. Because on one hand, I can think back and I can look back on it and go, oh, yeah, 24 years. That was a long time ago. But then every year, March 5th comes around, and it's just like, it's like it just happened. Oh man. Hey, I know you just got home from work, but I said at the beginning, this is going to be kind of a downer show. This is going to be a heavy topic, but it's March 5th. It's something that, yeah, I don't know. It just felt like something that I should talk about. And it's kind of like, well, we'll see how it goes. But should be locked up forever, either in jail because he's evil or in a psych ward. Yeah. Adams Lance is not wanting to get too political, because I know this is always debated in the US, but we only had one gun incident in a UK school. Guns were banned, and gun control came in immediately over here. Yeah, and that's when, like, I wasn't really going to get on the topic of like the laws and the restrictions and stuff, because I know a lot of times when people bring up and talk about stuff like this, they automatically assume you're on the side of like, oh, we should have stricter laws, we should have this, we should have that, we should have I'm not on that side of the things, but same thing with Adam. Like I said, like, I'm not really getting into the political side of that, but I will say that I am more on the side of being pro Second Amendment, pro, like, when stuff like this happens, because okay, like a full ban that would stop, school tragedies, but then there's other issues that come with that. But to allow adults of a certain age to be able to purchase weapons and firearms and things and have them in the house, and then when minors that are 14, 15 years old, whatever, get a hold of them and take them to school, it's like I blame the parents at that point. Like there's a breakdown and a disconnect with the parents of like, why did they know where the key was? How did they know how to unlock the thing? Why were they not taught proper gun safety of like, don't ever point it at anything that you don't want to obliterate, certain things like that. So no, I'm very much on the side that we, Second Amendment and all of that. But when it's kids that do stuff like this, I 1000% blame the parents. So let's see, one last article that we've got here of, so again, as I said, I was trying to kind of find like actual video clips and interviews of the guys talking about this, but each one had music playing in the background, and I typically don't care about the copyright strikes, but I figure the algorithm already doesn't like this topic, so tiptoeing a little bit. But this is a quote right here in the headline of Sonny from P.O.D. saying that he, it looks into the eyes of young people, and there's still a disconnect. There's tragedy and there's hurt. How a tragic school shooting inspired P.O.D. to write nu metal's most affecting anthem with youth of the nation. And again, I always think this is kind of funny. I mean, this is from Metal Hammer, but right there in the first bit, they label them as like Christian nu metalers, which, whatever. Yeah, the guys in the band are Christians, but they're just like, just write songs about life and things that are important to us, how their hit single resonated deeply with an American public, seeing violence escalating in schools and rocked by the tragedy of 9/11. And man, that is an old photo. P.O.D.'s Sonny Sandoval was on his way to get coffee when he heard the sirens and saw the police helicopters a couple blocks away. It was March 5th, 2001. Sandoval and his bandmates had been holed up in a studio in their native San Diego, writing songs for their follow-up to 1999's million-selling breakthrough album, The Fundamental Elements of Southtown. But the commotion that greeted the band as they headed out for a caffeine fix suggested something was happening on their doorstep, and it wasn't good. So we get back to the studio, turn on the TV, and we see the news. There's been a shooting at the school literally 2 blocks away, says Sandoval. We just sat there glued to the TV. What the hell is going on? The grim news unfolded. A 15-year-old boy had gone on a spree at the nearby Santana High School, killing 2 fellow students and wounding 13 other people before being apprehended by police. It was the latest in a depressingly long line of these types of events, the most notorious, which had taken place at Columbine just 2 years earlier, in which 15 people lost their lives. Here we were stuck in the studio feeling helpless. This is our city. We're heartbroken, but then we thought we're musicians. We're writing a record. We got to make a song about it. The track that came out of the tragedy was Youth of the Nation, gave P.O.D. their biggest hit, and nu metal one of its most enduring anthems. This atmospheric yet urgent song held a mirror up to American society, asking just what was driving a generation of teenagers to commit harm to themselves and others. And I think that is the bigger question, is not necessarily laws in place and trying to ban whatever, but it's like, what is driving these teens to not only want to harm themselves, but harm others? That I think is kind of another one of the things that I before talking about like the deep dark parts of this topic about how Sonny had started his Youth of the Nation Foundation. I think that's exactly what he's trying to do, is being involved in his community, get other people in the community involved, and like try to give some of these kids a more positive outlook on life who might be thinking about doing bad things, whether to themselves or whether to others. Kind of give them some hope, something to live for, basically, But the hope at its core inadvertently provided a glimmer of positivity to a country left shell-shocked by the 9/11 attacks. So as I already stated, this event happened on March 5th, 2001. They're writing and rehearsing for the album. The album gets recorded, produced, everything's all, in the can, ready to go. Release date, boom, September 11th, 2001. So it's just like, man, lots of stuff going on around the release of this album. And, I usually do a show on or around 9/11, just talking about the difference in our society of immediately following the events of 9/11 and just how united the country was in patriotic pride, in just basically being a good neighbor, take care of each other, watch out for each other and everything. And now just where we're at now as a nation, as a society, as a people. But 2001 was quite the interesting year for a lot of reasons. But yeah, it just people needed things after 9/11. People needed things that brought us all together and united us. Yeah, it took a lot to get to that point. Happy, healthy kids that were raised right don't do this. I'm guessing you meant to say you gotta go. Have a good rest of your stream. But thanks for popping in, Devin. Sure we'll be talking and sharing memes and complaining about the state of the world tomorrow. But have a good night, bud. All right. Positivity is what set P.O.D. apart from the new metal and rap rock pack, a product of their Christian faith. We never claimed to be a, quote, Christian band, says Sandoval, who embraced, this says embraced religion. I would say he embraced faith. Splitting hairs, I guess. Who embraced faith at 18 after his mother was diagnosed with cancer. When I found my faith in Jesus, it was a real experience. For me, it was a case of I want to share this, and music was the universal way to do that. P.O.D.'s first album, 1994's Snuff the Punk, came out the same year as Korn's debut album, and Sandoval's band were soon shoehorned into the burgeoning nu metal movement alongside with them. We got lumped in with Body Count because we're from the hood and we're a band of color, says the singer. And we got lumped in with Rage Against the Machine. So when the nu metal thing came along, we were just like shrugging, saying, okay, cool. The success of their fundamental elements of Southtown meant P.O.D. had the wind in their sails when it came to the follow-up. They were already deep into the writing process when the Santana High School event took place. It couldn't help but stir memories of the Columbine event 2 years earlier. In the wake of that earlier tragedy, they had been invited to Colorado to play what Sandoval calls a show of healing, organized by students who had survived at Columbine. Yet here we were again, history repeating itself in the same senseless fashion. They sat down in the studio in San Diego watching the news in disbelief. We were going, what's happening with this craziness? What's wrong with the kids today, with the youth of the nation, says Sandoval. As they talked, guitarist Marcos Curiel began strumming somber chords. He just started to jam, says Sandoval, just to get out what we were feeling. A vocal hook came to the singer, we are the youth of the nation. The band began putting the meat on the bones of the song, christened Youth of the Nation, after the massive hook, as they decamped to Los Angeles to work on parent album Satellite with producer Howard Benson. They knew how they wanted it to sound, heavy but atmospheric, with big timpani drums beating out a martial rhythm. Sandoval's lyrics came late in the process. The guys hadn't even heard them when I went in and did it. He says, it was like, dude, this is a powerful story. We knew we were onto something. The song's first verse echoed the Santana and Columbine events, telling the story of a similar tragedy through the eyes of a teenage victim, but it shifted the camera to focus on other problems afflicting the same generation: depression, bullying, anxiety, all viewed with sympathy and without judgment. The introduction of a children's choir near the end of the song kicked it all to another emotional level, which I will still say 24 years later, listening to this song, the first verse gets me a little bit, but that part there where they kick in the children's choir, the last chorus at the end there, it's just Niagara Falls. I can't hold it back at this point. I still, all these years later, decades later, I have a hard time listening to this song. When I saw them back in January playing the sort of free show, donation-based free show at the Harley Davidson, I was there with a friend of mine that I went to high school with. That we were both freshmen. We were both there. We both experienced the same thing. And we're standing there. P.O.D. starts playing Youth of the Nation. They're playing, my glasses are, when I'm outside in the sun, they switch to dark, so I don't have to carry around sunglasses and whatnot. So I'm assuming like my glasses are dark, whatever. When I'm standing there and they start playing the song and they get through the first verse and maybe like one or two little tears coming down, and my buddy standing right next to me, Kyle, he looks at me and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, "Oh, damn it. Why'd you have to ask me that right now?" But yeah, it's very powerful song still for me. I think a lot of people probably just look at them as one of these like one-hit wonders that, oh, I can't believe they're still around, which they never stopped making music and they never stopped touring, but they are still very much around. But this one, maybe people think it's just like a cheesy one hit, whatever, but it's a very, very powerful song to me. The original plan was to use P.O.D. fans to sing on the track. A group of kids were actually in the studio ready to record their parts when the band's attorney called, saying that the band could land in hot water for contravening union rules and California labor laws. God, I hate California so much. Howard Benson, the producer, quickly put in a call to a choir director named Bobby Page, who swiftly gathered 5 boys and 5 girls to come in and sing on the track. We threw a little barbecue, played them the song, explained it, and they just sang it. Says Sandoval, who was reduced to tears during the performance. It was a beautiful moment. We've run into adults on the road and they've gone, hey man, I was one of the kids in that choir. The first single from Satellite, uplifting mosh pit anthem Alive, hit number 2 on U.S. alternative radio when it was released in July of 2001, ahead of the release of the album. Ramping up expectation, the album itself was scheduled to release September 11th, 2001. We had stickers, beach balls saying P.O.D.'s Satellite 9/11, recalls Sonny. We played Star Making MTV show TRL 4 days earlier in Battery Park, not far from the Twin Towers. Wow. P.O.D. were back in California when the plane struck the World Trade Center on the morning of September 11th. They were supposed to play a release show in Hollywood that evening, but the gig was pulled in the wake of the attacks. Everything just stopped, said Sonny. Our record didn't matter at that point. It was just about being there for each other and being there for the world if we needed to be. This article just really keeps going on and on and on. I thought it was like, it keeps sounding like it's winding down, like it's almost over. But anyways, that's about all I got for today. Like I said, I kind of warned you all at the beginning. It's going to be a bit of a downer show, a bit of a heavier topic, but it's on the thumbnail, it's in the title, it's in the description. It's something that happened to me, something that happened in our world, something that happened in the community. A band wrote a song about it that is still a pretty powerful anthem, I think, to this day, at least in my opinion. And it just so happened that the 24th anniversary of said event fell right on a Wednesday. And so here's to Brian and Randy and to all of you for hanging out and sticking with me through this difficult topic. I know it hasn't been super fun. But there's good news. My next stream will be on Saturday. And my weekend streams are always gig streams. I pull them down after the live portion ends because it's just me performing cover songs for multiple hours. And YouTube doesn't like that. But that will be much more lighthearted and fun. I'll be playing at one of my absolute favorite local breweries that's just a few minutes here from my place. It's March, so I'm sneaking in some of my Irish tunes here and there from my early days of my early to mid 20s playing with like an 8-piece Irish band. So Saturday, I think it's a Friday or Saturday. I think it's Saturday. March 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll have a gig stream where I'm going to be playing music for a couple hours. And it will be much more fun than this stream was. I promise you that. And of course, after that, I don't know what I'll be talking about, but I'll be back on Monday for Late to the Party news. And I'll try to pick some more upbeat topics for Monday, I suppose. But like I said, this is something that was near and dear to me, and today is literally the anniversary, and I just thought that it fits in with the music topics. It fits in with something that has actually really happened to me, and I appreciate each and every one of you sticking it out with me and hanging out. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully, I will see you on Saturday. If I don't see you on Saturday, I'll see you on Monday for Late to the Party news. Cheers.
You